Politics. Talk 1470 and 95.3 FM. WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Welcome to the Ask the Experts show with local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Enjoy being educated in such topics as personal injury law, community association law, family law, bankruptcy law, along with health show topics like pain management, men's health, and dental implants. Now, sit back and enjoy today's Ask the Experts with host Steve-O.
Hey, we are on. This is the Ask the Experts radio show, and listen, you wrote us starting a couple months ago that you wanted a show on bankruptcy and getting your life back together again. We had to find a really good attorney, which we did, and I want to welcome you to Attorney Tate Russack.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate you having me here.
I love talking to you because we just spent 10 minutes talking about something I've never heard of, and maybe we'll do that one day. But tell everybody, first of all, about your practice. There's one here.
Well, Steve, my wife and I are bankruptcy attorneys. We primarily practice bankruptcy. When people ask me what I do, I say I eat because I'm a bankruptcy lawyer. I've been doing bankruptcy for just under 20 years. We practice both 713s, which are typical consumer cases, and we also help businesses with smaller Chapter 11s. We don't tend to do the really big cases, but there's plenty of big firms out there with lots of lawyers to do those. So,
what counties do you take?
So we help folks here in Palm Beach County and Broward County mainly, although we've had some people down in Miami-Dade, but it's a long way to drive to get to us.
So mostly here in Palm Beach and some in Broward. And where's your office at?
Our office is located on Dixie Highway in North Palm Beach, in North Boca at 7999 North Federal Highway.
Okay. So we're just going to jump right in. For the next 30 minutes, next 25 minutes, we're going to be talking about the different types of bankruptcy. And I'm going to say this. If you've got a bankruptcy question and you would like to call and ask Tate, call us here at 888-565-1470. That's 888-565-1470. You know what? I wanted to ask you last time, what is the biggest form of debt that you run up against?
Well, it's funny because as long as I've been doing this, it's changed. It used to be that we had credit card debt in the early 2000s. Then we, of course, all saw inflated mortgages through the recession in 2008. Well, today, we're once again seeing credit card debt inflating beyond the early 2000 levels, but we're also seeing a real bump in car loans.
Car loans.
Today, cars are sold for what I'll call an overvalued price. You know, I stopped by my local Ford dealer.
We're paying too much for our cars.
Well, I was going to say, I stopped by my local Ford dealer. I'm looking at an F-150, the most popular pickup truck in the world, apparently. Thank you, Mr. Ford. And it was $72,000.
What?
I'm looking at the sticker and I'm going, this is the simplest car out there. And, and it's $72,000. And I thought to myself, wow, this is what's wrong. And the base price might be 35 or 30, and yet somehow they get it up to this huge price. Now, new cars in and of themselves are a problem from a debt perspective.
What should afford F10? Is it F10?
An F-150.
What should they be?
Well, I am not an expert on how you price a car, but I've certainly bought a lot of cars. I'm 53. I've, certainly had my share of vehicles in my life. What worries me more than what they should be is that if you go in to buy a new car and it's $72,000 and you have pretty good credit, they're going to sign you on the bottom line, they're going to find a loan for you, and they're going to put you in it, and then you're going to drive off the lot. And the thing that just drives me batty as a bankruptcy attorney is you're going to lose $14,000 in the first 30 days that you own that car.
Wow.
You're going to lose $7,000 on your way out, plus you're going to lose all your taxes. Although, we can't fret about the tax man. Everybody gets
$14,000 in 30 days.
$14,000
Whatever
in 30
days.
days.
Drive out and it's worth $2,000 less. What happened to those days?
Well, I read some articles today before I came here, and the average depreciation driving off the lot is 10%. 10% driving off the lot. So if it's $72,000, it's $7,200 driving off the lot. Now, most people, that's $7,200 in a, let's call it an $800 a month payment. That's more than a year's worth of payments just to pay that off. Plus, you've got to pay whatever interest rate you're paying. So what I'm seeing is a huge inflation in the total price that new cars are selling for. And the other interesting fact that I ran into is that with the housing market pretty much turned off from a mortgage point of view, regulatory rules right now are so difficult to get mortgage. You can't get a mortgage. You can't refinance your house, but you can buy a car. And so people have, and I think that the industry responded to that by, chrome this and fancy leather that and $72,000 Ford F-150s.
That is amazing.
And so from my point of view, I'm amazed at it. But the statistic that really surprised me was when I looked at how many car loans there were. And say you look back in 2003 when this particular chart started, there was 74 million car loans in the United States.
1 year.
In 2017, there were 108 million car loans.
Wow.
I mean, that's a 30% increase over about 14 years. But the curve wasn't straight. There was a huge increase after the recession, and I attribute that to the fact that you can get a car loan up to $100,000 pretty much by signing on the bottom line if you have good credit. And if somebody wants to buy, they're going to give them a vehicle to do it. From my point of view and from a debt point of view, it's probably the worst investment you can make. I've got two sons, and I've pounded into their heads, buy used cars. And I've practiced what I preached. I go out, I want a car, I look at the new ones, I get big eyes at all the shiny paint, and then I go and I buy a 2 to 4 year old used car. And I pay 50% off list. And yeah, it's got 40 or 50,000 miles on it, and I wasn't the first one to get in.
Getting broken in.
And break it in and rub around on the leather seats. But you know what? I'm paying half as much as the guy that's buying the new car. And I'm willing to pay that price. Not to have the depreciation of value on this thing that I've bought, which is going to go down anyway just from use.
You see so many people with debt problems. What causes most people to go in debt where they have to file for bankruptcy?
Well, Steve, I wish there was one answer to that question. In 18 years, I've certainly seen all sorts of causes. It can be simple things, loss of a job, and a continued unemployment situation where whatever reserves that person had disappear and they find themselves unable to pay their bills. I mean, that's a very common one. It could be that they simply spent themselves into a hole where their income hasn't changed, but the amount of money that they have to pay every month on the minimum payment on their credit card, or the new car that they bought that costs $1,000 a month. Well, without a corresponding change in income, everyday folks just can't afford that. But we live in a world of constant marketing. It used to be TV ads. Now, every news program on the internet you look at's got a pop-up ad.
I'm going to tell you why I asked you that. I saw an article that said 85% of people today don't even have $500 in a savings account. And I said, that's impossible. That is, but you know what? When the shutdown happened and they missed their first paycheck, there was a lot of people freaking out. I was like, but it's one check. You're going to eventually get it back. But how could you be hurting from one check? And these are government people who make more money than, private.
It's interesting that you read that article, because I read a very similar article, or perhaps even the same, and what it said was 84% of Americans couldn't afford a $1,000 emergency.
That's very similar.
Right. And you're right that government workers do make, on average, a higher average salary. They also have great health benefits that they don't have to pay for in addition or out of their salary.
So why were people in so much trouble when they missed their first check? Now, when they missed their second check, oh my gosh, you would think the world's coming to an end.
Well, Steve,
so maybe that is true.
I walked through the mall the other day, and there are a lot of glitzy, shiny things to buy.
That's right.
And it's tough, and I'm as susceptible as anyone. Ask my wife. She'll say, "Why'd you buy that new tool?" Well, I just had to have it, honey. and
he still calls his wife honey after all these years.
And what can I say? I spent the $4 there, or I spent $30 here. Well, somebody else, they had to have this or they had to have that, and it becomes a cycle. And without breaking the cycle of spending through, say, a budgeting process, what you end up with is eventual debt, and that debt becomes overbearing until the point where you're forced through lack of funds, not lack of funds to keep spending, but lack of funds to pay staples like rent, food, electric, telephone. When you can't pay those things, you have to sit back and go, you know what? I can't buy a new pair of jeans today. I'm just going to have to deal with the 50 pair I have.
Yeah.
And I've heard these stories. People say to me, I just don't know how it happened, but I just had to have these clothes, and then I started going shopping, and it felt like, I think people feel good when they shop. They feel good when people, talk to them in the stores and say, "How can I help you?" Well, this is just
up, we're going to get to the different chapters in bankruptcy, but growing up, boy, if you declared bankruptcy, it was like, what's wrong with you? Nowadays, it's like so normal. It's not a big deal. People don't look down on you if you declare bankruptcy, and our own president filed for bankruptcy. But it's not a big deal like it used to be.
I have to give you one quick correction.
Okay.
Donald Trump never personally filed for bankruptcy.
He didn't.
No. But on 3 or 4 separate occasions, and I have to look, one of his companies that he owned, utilized the bankruptcy laws generally so that they couldn't pay the bills for people working for them, or they, in my opinion, they used it to avoid paying the bills for people who worked for them.
So
whether that's right or wrong,
it didn't count against him. But
but he used bankruptcy just like anyone else. And you know what? When we went through the recession, it was Chrysler that filed for bankruptcy,
yes, that's
and
right.
GM.
That's right.
We
bailed them out.
We had huge, massive bankruptcies, and nobody looked down their noses and goes, "Oh, those Chrysler folks that are literally peeling off $5 billion in pension debt and putting it on the doorsteps of the U.S. government through the Pension Benefit Guarantee Fund." We didn't say, "Oh, they're so terrible." We said, "Oh, we need those people to keep their jobs, and so bankruptcy's okay." And one of the things that I've always found is that bankruptcy, if you ask the person on the street, it's a dirty word. It's immoral.
Is it still now?
I hear
so many people file for bankruptcy. And I think, listen, I understand why the government did it, because sometimes you get where you have nowhere else to go, and the government's going to give you a forgiveness. One time, well, I guess over 10 years, 7 years. But,
Well, you can file Chapter 7 once every 8 years.
okay.
But there's other chapters you can file in the intervening time. Here's what I think about bankruptcy. People don't really understand it. And
Real.
I heard, we were talking earlier, I heard 6 ads for debt consolidation companies on the radio today. I actually started counting at one point. And in each one of them, they said something to the effect of, don't ruin your life by filing bankruptcy. And I think that message gets through whether people realize they're listening to it. Because bankruptcy sounds wrong. But have you ever thought where bankruptcy came from?
No.
We have an original bankruptcy code, and we find it in the most obvious place. And that's the Bible.
I was going to say that. I said, no, it can't be the Bible.
And not the New Testament. We're not talking about the revised, Reader's Digest version. We're talking Old Testament.
King James.
This came right out of Deuteronomy.
Wow.
You look in Deuteronomy.
We need to go to break, and I'm sitting here with, of course, we're talking bankruptcy. Attorney Tate Russack. Give everybody your phone number.
561-571-9610. Happy to answer all your questions.
And we're going to come back and we'll give it out again during the show. We're going to go to break. We'll be right back.
When debt has become overwhelming, there is not only one answer to help you. RLC will help you consider solutions. At RLC, we understand that every client has a unique set of circumstances that affects their financial life. If you are located in Boca Raton and Palm Beach or South Florida area, then you are in luck. The lawyers at RLC Lawyers and Consultants, qualified staff lawyers, will meet with you for a thorough interview to determine how RLC can help you. We'll give you a detailed analysis of your options, including if and what type of bankruptcy you qualify for and how it will help you. Before you decide, we want you to have the information to choose the financial remedy that is right for you. RLC will help you do just that. United States bankruptcy law offers multiple ways to restructure or discharge debt, called chapters. Chapter 7 is relief and liquidation. Chapter 13 is a personal reorganization. Chapter 11 is a more sophisticated reorganization for high-worth individuals or businesses. Call RLC Lawyers and Consultants today for peace of mind. 561-571-9610. That's 561-571-9610.
Issues.
We're back. Wow, you just told me you also help people with aviation issues? What does that mean?
Well, first, let me tell you, I did 13 years as an aviator in the Army. I was a helicopter pilot.
That's right.
And so aviation has always been my first love.
Because there is aviation law.
There is. So when people get in trouble with the FAA or when they need to understand how to buy an airplane or something like that, I help them. But I tell people...
So you deal with pilots then?
Well, I deal with pilots, I deal with businesses, I deal with individuals buying airplanes, anything that's within the aviation arena.
Wow.
But it probably takes up about 5% of my time, whereas bankruptcy is 95% of my days every day.
Give everybody your website, too, because you got a great website.
So you can find us at rlcfl.com. So it's rlcflorida.com.
I'm going to say something. I hope this doesn't sound like a sales job, but, you never know what's going to happen from day to day, month to month, year to year. And God forbid you get in a position where you say, you know what, I need to talk to someone about filing bankruptcy. Write Tate's number down, because you never know, or you might have a friend, because I think it's crazy just to Google somebody. And what I like about your practice, which is why I brought this up, you mainly just do bankruptcy. You don't have some shingles that go a mile long that you do every type of law there is. You concentrate in one area, and I've always said that's who I want representing me. I don't want someone who's also a personal injury attorney, which we have after this, but he just does personal injury. So I love the fact that that's really where you concentrate your area of practice.
Well, I'll tell you, Steve, as a lawyer, when you're new, you think, oh, I can do a whole bunch of different things. Now, 20 years later, I look back and I go, wow, I'm glad I didn't get in trouble, and I'm glad I was able to help people without messing it up.
Right.
What you really learn after you've done this for a while is even one subject matter like bankruptcy. I mean, I practice in South Florida, in Maryland, in D.C., and then periodically in other states. I've got a case in Boston right now. Every court has slightly different rules, practice rules, procedural rules. Yes, the law is the same book here in Massachusetts or in Maryland.
For bankruptcy.
For bankruptcy. Right. And then the other thing I'll tell you, and most lawyers get this, you ask a lawyer about bankruptcy and they'll go, yeah, I'm going to have to get somebody to answer that question for you, because it's a complicated world unto itself. We have our own court that's focused on bankruptcy.
That's right.
You go to bankruptcy court, you get a bankruptcy judge.
That's right.
You don't go to just a regular circuit court or a district court in the federal courthouse. And they do that because it is a world unto itself. Debt rules are different, and they really change without you even knowing it when they become in effect. You know, I often tell people, when do you know that you're insolvent or can't pay your bills? You know,
that's a great question.
What's the definition of that? And I mean, we have a simple definition, right? You're insolvent if you can't pay your bills in the ordinary course. So if they come due in 30 days and you can't make a payment, you're insolvent. And it used to be if you were insolvent, you qualified for bankruptcy.
Kind of hold out, though, don't they?
Well, I
see if I can make it another month. Something might change.
I think that people do that. I think generally people want to pay their bills.
I do too. I really believe that. And
I think that bankruptcy becomes a last minute, or I shouldn't say last minute, but a final option in the search for how do you recover from a financial problem. But I'll tell you, if you really want to fix your financial problems, when you see it, that first month, maybe you don't call your bankruptcy lawyer.
Right.
But by the second month, don't wait. Getting advice early can make all the difference on your financial recovery. And it's a big, big deal. When I see somebody come in, maybe with a small business, you know, a single person who's got a boutique business, they come in and they say, you know, I've got enough money to pay my bills for 3 months, but then I don't see where the money's going to come from. And I just thank everyone that they've come in early and often so that we can give them good advice, that we can give them advice early enough that they can maybe make a financial change so that they don't run out of money. Because running out of money isn't good for anyone. And, you know, the funny thing is that bankruptcy is a positive thing. People say to me, oh, I file bankruptcy, my credit's going to be terrible for 10 years. And that's not true at all. You file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you discharge all of your debt. Well, you can have perfect credit in 24 to 36 months.
Wow. Wow.
And I know
the bankruptcy stays on your record. Like if someone does a credit check on you, the bankruptcy is there. How do they look at bankruptcy that's been discharged?
Right. So you're absolutely correct. When you file bankruptcy, any chapter, it's going to stay on your individual credit report for 10 years. So I'm talking about an individual bankruptcy,
right.
A business bankruptcy being different because there's no credit report. That might show up on your Dun & Bradstreet. So 10 years, it's going to be there. So for 10 years, you're filling out a credit application.
Lower your credit having a bankruptcy on there?
So having a bankruptcy, I don't believe lowers your credit score at all.
Okay.
And I'm not by any means an expert on the calculation of credit scores, but I know enough about it over the years from observation and from I've actually represented some large credit scoring businesses in the past. But you file a bankruptcy, your credit score goes down. You know, the simple numbers might be somebody comes in with a bunch of credit card debt. Let's say they have 10 credit cards they're going to discharge. They got a 720 score. They file bankruptcy. Overnight, their score is somewhere between 580 and 600.
Okay, that sounds still that bad.
Well, it's enough that they're not getting any credit.
Well, yeah, but they don't want to cause the problem again, do they?
No. So what happens next is every one of the credit cards that they have on their credit report is going to list probably the month after they file discharged in bankruptcy or bankruptcy filed. It's going to say something like that on one of the three major credit reports, Equifax, TransUnion, and whatever the other one is. So from that point forward, in order to rebuild your credit, right, you're going to need a debt that's paid for 48 months on time within the 30 days when it's due religiously. You know, people ask me, how do you fix your credit? And I'm going, it's really simple. This is how simple it is. You can pay your electric bill with a credit card, right? So you go to the bank, you get yourself a credit card that's prepaid. Maybe you give them $600. So you've now got a credit card with $600 of credit on it. And you know your electric bill's $400 a month. So you give the credit card company your credit card, and you say, bill me every month. Now you know what day they're going to bill it, and so you know when it's going to be due. And so instead of paying your electric bill directly, you've already paid it with your credit card, you now go to your bank, and almost all banks today have a simple bill pay system where you can pre-program on a date, send a check to X. So you send a check 10 days before the due date on your credit card for $320 or for $410, a little bit more than what you know your credit card's going to be. And then all you ever do is make sure that $410 is in your account every month, and you just let it go. It will rebuild your credit in 30 months.
Wow.
Basically, when you have 30 on-time payments, and you know they're going to be on time because you've basically programmed it to happen automatically. The electric bill gets accumulated. It charges against the credit card. Credit card bill shows up, but the bank sends a check because you pre-programmed it. Boom, 30 months later.
Well, this has been the fastest 30 minutes. Give everybody your phone number.
So it's RLC, Lawyers and Consultants, 561-571-9610. And we're at rlcfl.com.
Man, I love talking to you. I mean, I could just talk to you all day. It's the same. It's the subject. But you'll be back again next month, and we're going to go to break. When we come back, we have our personal injury attorney who will be on with us. Shane will be with us when we come back.